When we are talking about feeding oneself, we have to understand that feeding is not just what we eat with our mouths, but everything that is an input in this material reality, that is, everything that comes from our senses. That is something to think about, my friends, because once you get into the experience of understanding deeper, of having a deeper understanding of your senses, it's interesting to think how we are using those senses. That is, with what we are feeding ourselves, and what is the consciousness we have about those inputs that we gather and fuel ourselves with. That is very interesting to think about, because some time ago I was talking about vegetarianism and how I had an experience with the energy of meat. And meat, my friends, is large spread already. People really think that meat is necessary to life to exist, you know, and that is not. Science shows us that is not. We are, and we are, since we were hunter-gatherers, we are sustained by vegetables. That's the thing about life. But another thing we can think about is what we see with our eyes. That is, for example, watching the news, movies, what we are what we are seeing with our eyes. A few days ago, I kept watching some news during the day, and then afterwards I was very angry, and I'm sure that happened because I was watching those news like repeatedly. We are always caught in these cycles of the media. That's very sad, but we're working on it. But the thing is that, for example, it's a matter of awareness in the end, because it's not what we eat or what we see objectively or what we touch, but is our consciousness about that, how our minds work when we are doing those things and eating those things and listening to those things and watching those things. You know what I mean? It's necessary to step back a little bit and criticize it. We claim we have this great rationality and all, but we have to use it more often. You know what I mean? We can criticize reality, but I'm not talking about the reality of others, but what we as a person, what we as persons, we are doing individually. You know what I mean? What one is doing, what one is listening to. That's the thing about. That's what to think about, my friends, because, for example, breathing is a very important input. It's the greatest fuel of this planet, and it's our greatest and most important fuel. So we can live, we have to breathe. And for example, when we introduce breathing exercises to our daily lives, we can make great changes in our mental life, in how we experience the life around us. You know what I mean? For example, when we introduce fasting in our daily lives and in our lives in general, we can give our body a little rest. Let it breathe, let it clean its cycles. It's very important. We have to take the prejudices out of it. We have to take the misconceptions, and we have to look within and see that those tools are all already there inside of us. You know what I mean? But we need to pay attention to them. And that's the question I live today. It's about how is our consciousness when we come to our feeding. Are we aware of what we are putting into our bodies, into our minds, into our spirits? I leave this question also to myself so I can look and try to understand the things more clearly. You know, because feeding is one of the greatest cycles of life. You know, creation, destruction, creation, destructions. After all, everything is mandala.